Hello, my tarot friends. Welcome. Today I have something really exciting to share with you, and it is the new deck by 3 Trees Tarot, which is called the Winding Tarot. This is the 5th deck in their series. The first one was the Oak Ash and Thorn. I believe the second one was the Thistledown. Then it was the Smoke Ash and Embers, which is one of my favorite decks of all time because I love dragons. And then the Heartwood Tarot, which I adore because it is very cozy and very different. So these two decks, the Oak Ash and Thorn and Smoke Ash and Embers, are very Rider-Waite-Smith based in a way where we have different animals, here we have different dragons, but the scenes still resemble kind of the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery. Not completely, but recognizably, I'm going to say. And this is their Oracle deck, which is beautiful because it connects both of the other two decks together. You would have animals and you would also have dragons in it. These are all first editions of the decks. The new editions have different backs. So this is the old backs, which I actually really love. And this one is borderless, which I also actually prefer personally. The new edition has borders, so it matches the decks because the decks have borders. So this is the Smoke Ash and Embers, which I adore. Now with the Heartwood, however, I feel like they made more bold choices for the cards. I'm going to show in a moment. This deck is so close to my heart. As you can see here, we have the scenes are completely away from the Rider-Waite-Smith. Like you would have the message of the card there, but the scenery, like the message of the card, whatever it is, comes through the scenery that is mostly completely different to the Rider-Waite-Smith. And I love that. It feels very storybook-like, and I love it because it's very cozy and it's to me personally, it reminds me of my granny's cottage that I used to spend a lot of my time in as a child, which is a cottage literally like here in the middle of nowhere next to the forest. So it's like, this is a completely nostalgic deck for me personally. Anyhow, in this deck, we get nudges to the Oak, Ash, and Thorn. For example, here we see that in the Devil, we see these two foxes that are the lovers in the Oak, Ash, and Thorn. And now what they did in the Winding Tarot, which is their last deck that I'm so excited about, which I'm going to share with you in a second, they did a similar thing like they did in the Heartwood, where you would have cards that hint or resemble characters, I'm going to say, from the Oak, Ash, and Thorn. And now they did the same in the Winding. You would have hints or reminders of the Heartwood Tarot because these two decks are connected. So in our new deck, side note, if you like this back, in the description box below, I will link the shop, which is called Goddess Gift Shop. And you can get 10% off if you use the code that it's there. Anyhow, this new deck is about a little jumping spider. And it is so great. So what was I saying? I was saying that yes, you see connections between these two decks because our story about our little jumping spider starts in the shed that is behind the Heartwood's cottage, right? So let's now focus on our new beautiful deck. Firstly, this deck is a prototype deck, but I cut off the corners. So what you're seeing here is not the final product. The final product's quality is going to be as high as in all their decks, which is one of my favorite type of cardstock that they use. It's like thick, but flexible, and it has this very nice feel to the cards. It's very matte. Love it so much. Some of the cards here are already that, but some of them are not. So there might be a bit difference in contrast, I'm going to say, in the cards, depending on what coating or no coating they have on them. That's first thing that I wanted to say. Now, the second thing is this deck comes with extra cards, which are very exciting. So firstly, we get the cheat sheets like we usually do with their products. The creators of these decks are Stephanie Burrows and Adam Ohlers. They're amazing. Adam is the illustrator and Stephanie is the creator, the person with ideas behind these decks. So they come with extra cards. I'm going to share them with you first because they're such cool cards. So here we have explanations for our extra cards. So we have the Lucky Spider, and then we have the Page, the Knight, the Queen, and the King, and Dawn and Examination. So if you firstly look at Dawn and Examinations, these two cards happen before the fall. So we have our shed, right, where the spider is. And then here we have like a zoom in to the door that is opening. So we have the shed, we have the setting, right, the dawn. And then we have the examination, which is the spider is examining if they should or shouldn't leave the shed, right? And then we get to the Fool, which is then taking that first leap of faith, the first step. So these are the 2 cards that you can include in the Major Arcana if you wish to. Or you can use them as something else, like a yes and no, or whatever you want to, right? Which is amazing. I love these extra cards. Now, these are so great to me because we have the Lucky Spider. Now, the Lucky Spider is a good omen card. And to me personally, it feels like a mix of the Star card with the Wheel of Fortune. So it's kind of like the Wheel of Fortune turns your way because the Lucky Spider, right? So, because the Wheel of Fortune is not always read as, fortune and good luck. So this is perfect. I love that we have that card in there because it's definitely yes and definitely positive thing, no matter what, right? And then we have the Page, the Knight, the Queen, and the King. And I love this so much because you can use these as significators for yourself or for the person you're reading for, depending on what stage in their journey they are or what type of energy they have about them or whatever else that we connect to the Pages, Knights, Queens, and Kings generally. But what I find very genius about these cards is that the Knights are connected to fire and we see fire matches. And we see a knight helmet there, which is really cool. Then we have the Queen, which are connected to water, right? And we see pouring rain here. And of course, the crown. I love that. And then we see the King, which is connected, or the Kings are connected to wind, to thoughts, to air, right? And we see wind on the picture. And that's amazing to me. That's so brilliant to me. It's great. And then for the Page, we kind of have that beginning stage. So the spider is coming down and we see this feather here. And the feather to me represents like you could use the feather to write. You could or you couldn't write. So it's that beginning stage of what can I do with this? It's like it triggers curiosity about this feather. And that's what the Pages are about. They're curious about, they're starting something new. They're learning about something new. They're thinking to start something new, if that makes sense. So that is so great. I love this so much. So I use this in different ways. These cards. I've already been reading with this deck because it is so great. And our little spider just here is the main character, right? And it's so cute. And to me personally, jumping spiders are very special because as a child I always played with them and I always found them so smart and curious, and the way they move is like almost alien-like, but not in a scary way. Like it feels like they're more intelligent than any other spider that I've ever seen. They kind of remind me of octopi, but in a spider form, if that makes sense. Anyway, let's start with our deck. So as you can see, I cut my edges off because I wanted to be able to shuffle it and play with it and use it. So we're going to walk through this deck like we usually do, from the majors first, and then I'm going to go in aces, twos, threes, etc. These images are obviously in black and white, and I personally thought that no color is going to be a problem for me, but it's absolutely not. The no color kind of makes it, easier to read and more, I feel like intuition flows better, and where your eyes is drawn is not based on the bold color, if that makes sense. So if it's something red, your eyes is naturally going to be drawn there. But because there's just black and white and gray tones here, I feel like intuition guides you what are you being drawn to based on what is happening inside of you. Does that make sense? And also another thing that I love is that not only we have like a spider on the pictures or on the drawings or on the scenes, but we actually have scene that includes so many different things, and they include human things. I think this is the Heartwood was the first deck that kind of touched to the human energy, right? Because it was happening in the cottage. And this one, because the spider travels in the Major Arcana, it travels from the forest and grass fields towards the village, right? Towards the human civilization, I'm going to say. So we slowly start seeing human things towards the end of the Major Arcana, which is brilliant. And then in the minors, we have lots of human input, but no humans there. But everything is very known to us because we are humans reading cards, right? So if you're in the library, it triggers those memories in being in the library and how that feels, and our memories from the times when we're in library or bakery, whatever. So I think this deck is actually, in my personal opinion, the best deck so far. Even though I love older decks, like I have a special place for each of them in my heart, but this one, there's just something very special about it. And Stephanie actually writes in her guidebook how she wanted to create spider deck before any of other decks, but people were telling her that, spiders are not the most beloved creatures amongst humans, right? And so I'm very happy that at the end she decided that she's going to pursue creating a spider deck anyway, because I feel it's the most magical of all of them. And you can feel her heart and soul being poured into this deck. Like there's something really special, really deep, very nostalgic, very magical, very, I don't know, that childlike magic. It's in this deck. I mean, it's in all of their decks, but this one is just something very, very special about it. And yeah, it's just, the way it's drawn is just so beautiful. Now, without further ado, I've been talking for too long. So let's just start. So here we have our little fool. What I like about this card specifically is that the fool is hiding under the leaves, right? And the sun is shining. It's inviting. We see nails here, which to me, it triggers in my mind, oh, what can I do with these nails? Why are they there? What can I create with those nails? So it's kind of like before we go out there to check what we could do with those nails. And then if we move to the magician, I'm going to just put it here because they're similar. We see it from different perspective, but the sun is still shining down and we can see the spider now left, the cocoon of leaves, and is unfolding the map here with all the 4 elements, which is so sweet. But we still see nails here, so we know that it's the same scene, and I love that about it. So these 2 cards are connected, right? The before and the first real step, The magician to me is about envisioning what you can do and manifesting it in the spiritual world before it physically manifests. And I love that we have it here as the scroll, because that also nudges us to the high priestess, which is the next step, right? I really like this. Oh, the backs are beautiful. They're very similar in style to the new backs in all of the decks. So they are reversible and they have quite a lot of white space. Okay, and here we are at our high priestess. Oh my gosh, I love this card so much because we have a door that is slightly open, and it reminds me of, in the high priestess card, we have a scroll that is not completely shown, right? It's there, but not all of it. So it reminds me of that. Also, we see there is a lock there and it's unlocked, right? And then it's up to you if you're going to look or not. On the floor, we see pomegranate seeds, which I thought, firstly, I found out that they are pomegranate seeds when I looked into the guidebook. But at first, I thought that they were like gemstones or crystals, which would be, again, connection to the divine, to the spiritual realm, right? But the pomegranate seeds is even better because obviously Persephone, and we know that in the high priestess we see pomegranates on the veil, right? And I love that we see 3 there, but we can't completely see what is there, just like in the Torah writing on the scroll on the high priestess. So it's there waiting for you to look, but are you ready? Will you? How much? How far are you willing to go? Also is leaving behind the safety, right? Because the high priestess is also, we know that Persephone traveled in the underworld, right? And what does the underworld represent? Probably not the most pleasant things, I'm gonna say. And you need to be brave to do that, right? Or perhaps there are, like, there's beauty in darkness, if that makes sense. So love that so much. The Empress and the Emperor, let me just put them together because they're so cute. Actually, if I put them this way, it's better because it kind of looks like they're looking at each other, which is amazing. I always love that, even though it's the same spider, but I love that. And in the Empress card, we see that there's a beautiful flower that is above the spider. So she's protecting the spider, right? The Empress here, I feel, is the flower. And our spider is just, under the Empress's safety, I'm going to say. So it's protection, it's beauty, right? It's a beautiful flower. And grace with those beautiful raindrops rolling down the flower. So it's like a very serene, gentle, and the Venus energy comes through for me in this card. Also, we see the moss and the sun shining there, so it's very warm and inviting. But we also see one stone here, right? Which tells me that the Empress is not just, kind and warm and all that, but she's also stern when she has to be, right? And here with the Emperor, first of all, I love that we see the ram there at the background, but the fact that we have stones around, there's so many things we could connect the stones to the Emperor's energy or their characteristics like stoicism, strong, like longevity, being strong, being stern, being solid, right? The barriers, the protection, the borders. What do we actually have? Let me actually use the cheat sheets as well as we go through the majors, just so we see what Stephanie envisioned for every card. So we have for the Empress nurture, compassion, beauty, and for the Emperor protection, dependability and stability, which is amazing because this is stable and the spider here depends on these rocks for protection, which is really great. Now the Hierophant here with an arrow is amazing because the Hierophant is someone who guides you, right? Is someone who shows you knowledge, and then it's up to you what you're going to do with it, you know? And here for the Hierophant it says conformity, institutions, questioning. So I love that it's questioning here as well, because we're questioning in which direction are we going. Now another nugget here that I found is that this plant could be, because we can't really see which plant it is, but it could be because of the blossoms, the, what is it called? The moonflower, Luna flower, which would be a hint to the High Priestess and the moon, right? The questioning of what is real, what is not. Because with the Hierophant card, the challenges come within us, right? They rise within us. We are questioning everything, right? The reality we live in. So that is brilliant. If that is done on purpose, that is just absolutely brilliant. Now the Lover's card is so pretty and also very well done. Keep this in mind when we come to the 10 of Cups. I'm going to show you how it relates to that, and it's just amazing what they did here. I love how the spider is enchanted by the seedling falling off the... I love that they use the dandelion flower here because we see the flower and we also see the seedling stage, which is amazing because polarity, right? Duality. Within the Lover's card, we have two different parts of the same plant, and they do that. The dandelions do that. Part of the plant is going to be flowering, and the other part is already going to be creating seeds, which is amazing for the Lover's card, right? Also, it's very warm, beautiful. This feels like the angel's blessing, let's say, that we see in the Lover's card. Another thing that I really like is how the Lover's card is connected to the Gemini card, which we know it's very go with the wind, right? Gemini is very go with the wind. They turn around, they go with the wind, basically. And this is exactly what the dandelion seeds do when the wind is blowing them around. So how brilliant is this? Like, it's so good. Okay. Now, the Chariot card here, we have direction, perseverance, and discovery. And we can see this. This is like a little branch that looks like a bridge, and our little spider is on an adventure to go over, to cross over. We see that the wind is blowing, so it's not probably the most comfortable to pass there because it's very bare, so the spider is very unprotected, right? But it is perseverance, it's discovery, something new, so that's amazing because we see that in the Rider-Waite-Smith as well when the Charity actually goes over the bridge. Now this Strength card is so beautiful to me. It's perfect. We see this seedling, this tree, I believe, growing from either very dry land or it could be stones as well. And I love how our spider is right there. But do you see what I meant when I said that the spider is there, but it's not always, you know, the main act, I'm gonna say, on the card. So that's wonderful. And it says for the Strength card, it says spirit, persistence, determination. The Hermit, solitude, search, awareness. And what I like about this card is that the mushrooms are there, right? This triggers many things in my head, but the mushrooms are often related to wisdom and ancient knowledge and, I don't know, just wisdom that comes from something deeper. The transformation as well, transformation of a person, right? And that's the Hermit is all about. The Hermit removes themselves from the society to contemplate, to explore their inner vastness and come on the other side wiser, right? And that's amazing. And I love that we have rain because the Hermit in the Rider-Waite-Smith card is on the top of the snowy mountains. That's not very nice environment, like when it comes to climate, at least, you know. And the spider is hiding behind here, which is, I don't know, it's also kind of like they retreated away from the outside world, right? They retreated away from the outside world. So it's just so great. And also these mushrooms could be the magical mushrooms, which could be another another layer to this card, right? Which is just so great. I feel like these cards are so layered, and this is one of my favorite cards in this deck because it's just so brilliant in so many ways. So this fern here, I think it's called fern, is opening, right? It's moving. The Wheel of Fortune is always moving, always growing, always expanding. And it resembles the Fibonacci, the golden ratio, right? Which is found everywhere in nature. And to me, the Wheel of Fortune is not just forever changes, right? Fate and all that. It's universal's law. And then your ability to work with the universal's laws, to work with universal laws. And that is just so amazing. And also the fact that the spider is in the middle. We talk about in the Wheel of Fortune how when the wheel spins, if you're on the outside, you're going to feel the most pull, the most uncomfortable feels when if you center yourself quite literally and also spiritually, right, with the laws, you're going to feel the less turbulence, I'm going to say. So, yeah, brilliant on so many levels. Justice card. This is a sycamore tree, and I find that so brilliant because we know that these seedlings, they spin around and the wind blows them, right? Justice, firstly, is connected to the Libra card, which is an air sign, and the fact that we have a tree that is connected to air moving is brilliant. 2, we have seedling that both ways, so it kind of looks like the scales, like literally it looks like it, which is amazing. Then the third thing about this is that the seedling are blown around with the wind, and then some land on the concrete, some land in the grass, some land on the soil, right? So then it's like this universal laws of nature. So everything is fair, everything is just in the nature, right? Within the mother's nature's laws. And that to me again speaks of this justice card. Then we also have spiderweb there, and spiderweb talks about how everything is interconnected as well. So how every action has a reaction, right? Which is also to do with the justice card. So that's just brilliant. I feel like these cards, you just need to stop and pause and think what the imagery is telling you. Now for the hanged one, we have our little spider hanging down. And what I find very interesting is that if you look at the background, these leaves, this plant is obviously either it's autumn, right? So the leaves are going to fall off. If this is the maple tree, I think it's called, or it is a sick tree, right? And the hanged one, we know that is an uncomfortable situation. Either way, if it's autumn, the leaves have to fall off the tree in order to then move into the next stage, right, of the cycle of nature, which is just so brilliant. The death card here. Oh, I love this death card so much because we see the branch that is falling apart, right, that is rotting away, but we see growth coming from it, but not just any growth. Here we see, I believe this is a strawberry, like the forest strawberry plant. And what is brilliant about this is that we see it in a stage where it's blossoming, right? So beauty in death, in transformation, but also this is just a part of transformation. There's more stages to the transformation, and the next stage would be the fruit, right? And then after the fruit, it falls off and we have seeds. So it tells me that this is just one part of transformation and there's more coming, but perhaps this is the most beautiful part of the transformation as well, which is the most, not the most beautiful, the most maybe pure, because also we see white flower, right? Oh, it's just, yeah, there's so many layers to these cards. Temperance cards resembles the other cards in their deck series, I'm going to say, because there's always, in their decks is always the turbulent waters, right? And then the animal or whatever is there touching the water, but staying still, staying comfortable, staying grounded and calm in the turbulent times. They are, what is the word? They are staying centered, they're staying balanced, right? What I find brilliant in this card is that we see I think this is acorns, right? Please correct me if I'm wrong. So we see the little, things that hold the acorns in place on the tree, and they look like little cups that we see in the temperance card. So that's brilliant. There's like so many little nuggets in this deck. Love it. And of course, our little spider has some feet in water and some feet on the ground, which again is brilliant. And let me just read you what it says for temperance. It says, for that it says transformation, rebirth, renewal. The hanged one, surrender, pause, stillness, justice, balance, wisdom, alignment. Temperance, calm, extremes, steadiness. Exactly. Now for the next one, we have the devil, which is attachment, obsession, limitation. Now I love that. Oh my gosh. Here we see, I believe, the blackberry bush. It could also be wild rose, right? In any case, if it is the wild rose, that would be pretty cool because rose is sometimes connected to the lover's card, or the empress. But anyhow, whatever, let's just focus. Let's say this is blackberry. If this is blackberry, that's brilliant because the blackberry has very sweet and inviting fruits that you could indulge in, and it wouldn't be too good for you because they have lots of sugar, right? So in the Herb Crafters Tarot, the blackberry is also used for the devil card, and it talks about how you make a blackberry cake or pie, and then of course you have to measure how much you put in and how indulging in a little bit is good for you, but then it's a thin line between enjoying the pleasures and also then indulging in them a little bit too much when it's not good for you anymore and you get addicted, etc. to sugar, right? We know that sugar is addictive. So anyhow, that's what comes to mind to me personally. But of course, also the image of the thorns, of everything being grown through. Attachment, right, would be kind of the spider is now slowly leaving the forest. So it's like looking back, because we don't see the spider. We are the spider in this card. So we're looking back and we're like, are we really sure to leave this place? Because when you look at it, you feel very safe in there as a spider, right? As a person, you get stuck in the thorns, but as a spider, you find your way around it, and it's very safe actually. And the attachment comes through here if we look at it from this perspective. And then limitation, another thing, limitation, right? It feels like it's very thick and you can't get through. So there's so many ways you could read this card, and I love it so much. The tower, I like that. So the spider obviously left the forest and now it's in the open, right? And everything is different. And now the storm is coming and they're on the leaf here that it looks like it's going to be torn off this branch and they're going to be flying in the air. So that is perfect for the tower. But what I like is that we see this stormy clouds here, but there is also light here, right? And it feels like the spider is being taken into the light, which is a very nice way of seeing this card. Also, let me see what it says here. It says upheaval, chaos, revelation. There we go, revelation, right? And now the spider is landed on the ground and they found a little star necklace that somebody left behind. But to the spider, because they've never been in contact with humans before, right? This is something that doesn't belong to their universe. And that is so cool because to the humans, when you look at the stars, it's something celestial, something that is outside of our physical 3D realm, I'm gonna say. I mean 3D, I say 3D, but you know what I mean. It's like out there in space. We can't really touch the stars. We just dream and think about what they could be, what they are, etc. And I love this because to the spider, this little necklace is exactly that, right? And it's also very inspiring. It's beautiful. Positivity, hope, serenity. Yeah. So it kind of creates that feeling that the star in the sky creates to us, to this little spider it does here on the floor. Something new, something out of this world, right? Or out of their world. Same with this moon here. Again, it looks like it was left behind by human, and the spider is reaching up for this moon. And moon speaks about illusions, right? It speaks about imagination, uncertainty. So uncertainty to me comes that it's on this little thread that we don't know how long it's going to stay on, it's going to fall off or what. Illusions, is this really the moon, right? The spider's thinking, this must be the moon, right? Because it looks like the moon. But we know from this perspective that this is not really the moon, right? So it talks about those illusions. And then imagination, it definitely triggers imagination within the spider, reaching up for it, but can't really reach it, right? It's just wonderful. And as another thing I wanted to say is the closest that the spider comes to the village, right, the more human things come into the cards. And here we see the sun. I love that we see these fans here because that obviously reminds me of the Rider-Waite-Smith wall, right? When the spider is crossing the wall and the sun, it feels very warm. inviting, like everything's good. They finally see their village where they were headed, right? They know that this is their goal, that this is where they're going. They've been through so much before, and now they're there basically. They just need to go for it. And yeah, I love that we see the sunflowers as well, which reminds me again of the Rider-Waite-Smith card, which, sunflowers turn towards the sun, their positivity and authenticity and all that comes through. And positivity, right? Because they're always turning towards the sun. So I love that so much. It feels very warm without colors, which is crazy, right? Love this Judgment card so much. First of all, is aesthetically beautiful with this beautiful gate. And secondly, I love that this gate is like for the spider. I mean, there's many holes it can just walk through, right? But it feels like it creates this barrier that is not really there. Does that make sense? It is also the quite literal door that they have to walk through into their new life, I'm going to say. It is a transformation on a higher sense, like they're literally moving from one world to the next, right? It's also leaving behind things that they don't serve them anymore in this moment in time, right? Because the spider decided that they're leaving things behind. And they perhaps here looking back at the forest and everything that was and reflecting and letting go and then focusing towards the village that we can see there at the background. And again, it feels very warm and sunny day here, which is like, how can you do this with black and white pictures? Or drawings. It's just incredible. Love it. And here we are, another great card, because the world is the end and the beginning at the same time, right? And here we see the kind of like portal here, like in the world card in the Rider-Waite-Smith, and it says trails and how amazing. But at the same time, we arrived at the village, and we also see the victorious or celebratory decorations in the village as well, which creates that sense of this card is a very positive, good card. It's like the good end, the beginning of something new, a new adventure. And this is the first part of, I wanted to say the story of the spider, but yeah, really, it's so amazing. I love the major arcana in this deck. Now let's go to minors, and we're going to walk through, like I said, aces, twos, etc. Okay, so these are our aces. I love that for the Ace of Wands, we see a scene where someone is painting, right? Because wands are all about creativity, right? And that spark inside that if you paint, I do sometimes for like, not professionally or anything, but that inspiration, the inner fire, the inner creativity, the inner spirit comes through when you paint, right? That childlike spirit comes through, and I love that so much. And pay attention to the Page of Wands as well, because they're connected, and I love that. Okay, then Ace of Cups. I love this so much because we see the cup, right? We see the vase and the beautiful flowers, and we see the door, so opening a new door, and it's a beautiful new feeling because, I mean, the bouquet, what else? Like, if you ever got a bouquet of flowers as a gift, it creates that feeling of Ace of Cups in your heart. And I love that we see a note here with a heart on it as well. It's beautiful. The Ace of Swords, being in the library with knowledge, with new knowledge, right, is amazing. And if we read at the titles here, it says giving a leg up, how to make friends, which is really cool because at the beginning of something new, right? A new something new, right? Intellectually. To make friends, you need to use communication, right? And be the best spider you can be. And then again, we see a sword here, which is very clearly the sword suit. And if you look carefully, we see the one here on the book stands out as well, which is brilliant because Ace of Swords, right? And then for the Ace of Pentacles, being in some sort of shop, I would say that it's probably a toy shop. I'm not sure, because we see a toy shop in, I think, Knight of Pentacles as well. And with the pentacle, with the coin there, is just brilliant. It's amazing. I love it. Like finding a coin, right? And you can do with it whatever you will, right? Yeah, love it. Two of Wands is a train station. I mean, can it be more perfect? Like, a train station is a place where you go wherever in the world, right? It can take you wherever. The world is your oyster, and this literally is the feeling of the Two of Wands. It's like you're planning, you're thinking. What I also like is we see time, right? So I feel like there is a nudge here to make a decision, right? And also we don't see exactly where these trains are taking us, which is another thing with the Two of Wands. Is not completely clear yet. Where are you going? You're still planning. So I love that little nudge here. And our little spider is right there. Another thing that is brilliant on this card is that the spider, if you can see, it has a thread. So if you put cards in a spread, you can see where the threads connect, because sometimes they do, and so those cards speak to each other in a different way, right? So that's so brilliant. It's just another golden nugget in this deck. It's amazing. I love this Two of Cups because we see a reflection here, right? The spider's looking at the reflection. And of course, the warm cup of tea, it creates that, I don't know, that sense of calm and serenity, and also, I don't know, harmony for some reason, because it's a tea. I feel like it's a tea mix, and you need to put perfect amount of specific herb in it to create it like in a harmonious, beautiful way, because Two of Cups I read as harmonious relationship, right? Or connection, whatever. And I love that we see a spider looking at themselves in the mirror, and we see two cups, and the other one is the reflection, right? So it's like when you find that beautiful connection is when, you know, the eyes are the mirror of the soul. You see yourself in that person and you love. I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go very philosophical here, but when you accept all parts of yourself and beauty in yourself, you can then recognize it in others, and it kind of reflects back, and it's kind of like, yeah, it's hard to put in words. Anyhow, beautiful card. Reminds me a little bit of the Super Lunaris Two of Cups, because there we also have a woman that is looking in the mirror, and it's also Two of Cups. So it reminds me of that, which is beautiful. Anyway, Two of Swords. Love this. The sense of urgency. It's pouring rain. The water is coming down, and the spider needs to decide, are they going to continue this way, or are they going to go inside, right? If they're brave enough to take a leap of faith, to walk over even. So is just brilliant for the Two of Swords, because there's a sense of urgency there. And also water, right? We see the water in the Two of Swords, which is very important. The intuition, the emotion, the battle between thinking and emotion is just brilliant, because we see lots of space here, which reminds me of air, right? Obviously swords. And then Two of Pentacles, measuring the fruits. I love it that we have the grapes and the apples, because the grapes appear in lots of Pentacle cards, and the apples appear on the, what is it called? The Queen of Pentacles, which the Queen of Pentacles is someone who would measure things, and they're very practical, right? So that's amazing, amazing connections there. And of course, we see the two coins here. These cards are so well thought through that it's just amazing. It amazes me. It's just brilliant. It's a brilliant, beautiful, nostalgic deck. I love it. And I used it to read for myself and for others, and it reads so beautifully. Okay, where we are. Three of Wands. Here our little spider is looking at the parcel. They're going to go probably on the parcel, or they're just peeking in what is in the parcel. And it's great because this parcel connects to post office, right? To something being sent off. So that it's already been done. The things have been done. All they need to do is put it to the post office, which is perfect for the Three of Wands, because things are set in motion already, but there's still some things still have to be done to continue. Like, you've done everything, but if you're not taking this to the post office, it's going to stay with you. And the same in the Three of Wands. It's kind of like you put things in motion, but you need to continue on in that momentum, if that makes sense. The Three of Cups is beautiful, reminds me of the Herb Crafters again, because we have a similar scene for the Three of Cups connected to childhood and memories and all that, which is beautiful. Some people would probably think this might be the Six of Cups, but to me it's not, because the Three of Cups is that you can bring that inner child energy out, because you're with people who you're really yourself with, if that makes sense. You can be playful. You can let all the emotions flow, positive or negative. You know, you can scream, you can cry if you're sad, or you can laugh and be silly around them. So that's beautiful. I love that. The Three of Swords, pouring rain. This little spider is stuck there on top of that pole. We see three swords here, which is, of course, brilliant, because, you know, you can obviously see there is Three of Swords. It's a card that is not pleasant, right? But you also learn from your mistakes. You know that when the clouds are getting dark, perhaps you shouldn't go outside and, you know, and wait for things to happen. So you learn from it, which I love. And we don't see the stabbed heart, which I appreciate. And then the Three of Pentacles here is amazing, because, right, Three of Pentacles is about collaboration, about different things coming together to create something new together, right? It can be parts of yourself, aspects of yourself, or with other people. And what I love about this is that we see the connection with other decks here. So we see Heartwood, We see forest, which obviously is going to connect to the oak, ash, and thorn. We see fool here, which I think is connected to our little spider. We see badger here, which would connect to, again, to the thistledown probably. And then it says something else here, which I'm guessing is probably connected to our dragon deck. So how brilliant is that? Okay, and here we are with our fours. 4 of Wands is obviously a wedding or some sort of celebration. That's beautiful. I love that we see 4 here. I love that we see flowers. We see the champagne type of glass, which tells you there is something that is like a milestone, right? And we see 4 candles. Beautiful. And our little spider there is hiding. And I love that it looks like a house, right? Again, home. That's another interpretation of this card, is connection to home, right? Stability. And I love that. So many little things in this deck. The 4 of Cups, I love how our little spider is hiding under this cup here, which is the acorn cup, I suppose it's called. And we see the sun shining outside of there, right? We see flowers. It's very inviting. Is that like, are you going to take it or are you going to stay there in your safety zone, right? 4 of Swords, the little spider is inside of the snail's shell. And 4 of Swords is that contemplation, is that break, right, from the outside world, and being in the house that can be very I love that we have again Fibonacci on the snail shell, which is kind of like telling me that it's more intellectual, if that makes sense, because the universal laws and stuff. So that's brilliant. And I love that we see a little thread there and the spider is looking at that thread, so it's kind of like, it feels like a reflecting on the past, right? And the 4 of Pentacles is brilliant again. I'm going to use the word brilliant a lot because this deck is brilliant and gorgeous and beautiful and all other wonderful things. So we see 4 coins here and the spider protected them with their little sticky web, right? Which is so interesting because to the spider thinks that it's really safe and protected. But if you look at it from the human perspective, any human can walk and just take those 4 coins, right? So it's not really stable. And that's what I love about this, is like the number 4, yes, is stable and all that, but it's at the beginning of, if you look at the 10 numbers, right? It's still at the beginning of the journey, and it's not as stable as you might think. Love that, love that. I love for 5 of Wands, we have the chessboard, because like, you know, in 5 of Wands, we have different people coming and fighting, right? But it's more than that. It's like, we see that duality, right? We have white and black chess pieces. And we see the chessboard is black and white. I love that it's 4 because, you know, square has 4 sides. So 5s are kind of like, you take 4 and you break that stability. And I love that this hint to that, if that makes sense. We also see 5 pieces of each on the chessboard, which is great. So 5 white chess pieces and 5 black chess pieces. And something that is very interesting, actually, I just noticed here, is that there's actually the 6th piece here, the white 6th piece. And to me, that's brilliant. Why? Because it's not only hints on the 4, which was before with the square, but it also hints to the next stage, which is 6. How genius. I mean, wow. And obviously strategy and, being smart on how you approach things, not just rushing into it stupidly, I'm gonna say, because if you ever play chess, if you're just trying to take other opponent's pieces, you need to be more than just taking them one step at a time. You have to think of few steps in front, or what is it called, few steps ahead, right? What you're gonna do. So yeah, brilliant. 5 of Cups made me cry the first time I looked at it, because this, I believe, is in memory of Stephanie's 2 dogs that passed away, and that's just so heartbreaking. And it's such a perfect depiction of the 5 of Cups as grief, as, you know, going through those hard emotions and letting go of the past, but keeping the good things. Oh, what is it? Because we have 3 that are broken off on the floor and 2 that are standing. So it's kind of like, it tells me the pain is there and you kind of leave it behind. But then the 2 which are standing is the good stuff. So taking with you the good memories, if that makes sense. So that's beautiful. And the 5 of Swords, I love how this little spider came in. This robot is broken on the floor, the toy, right? But the spider came in and they're like, ha ha ha. It's kind of like, I want this is mine. It's perfect energy for the Five of Swords. And then the Five of Pentacles here, another brilliant card, because we see the church, we see the beautiful light coming from the window. We see this, forgot what I called, that we see in the Five of Pentacles in the Rider-Waite-Smith, which is brilliant. The wind is blowing, the leaves are flying around. But then the next card we get, 6, is also happening in the church. And I love these little connections between the cards in this deck. They're very subtle, and you will only notice them if you actually pay attention and spend time with these cards. And once you notice them, it's just, if these cards appear together, it weaves a story on a deeper level. Okay, 6 of Wands. I love that we have, I forgot what this game is called, but this game is often in pubs in the UK. And when you win this, if this happens to you, right, if you hit the middle point, you're going to be very recognized by people who played with you, right? It's going to, I can hear people cheering for you. I can hear people applauding, being happy, that celebratory feeling in the air, you know, just because, I've played it in a British pub because I'm from the UK. So, I live here, I'm going to say. So, this 6 of Cups is another card that made me cry because this is a Christmas ornament. And to me, the Christmas ornaments or the Christmas feels are the most nostalgic feels ever. And of course, 6 of Cups is related to that. But not only that, 6 of Cups is related to being in the moment. And around Christmas times, I feel like people are very present in the moment that is happening, right? The magic. We see the toy in the background, which talks about their childhood memories, of course. And children are very present in the moment as well. And here we have a nudge to the hardwood again on the book, which is beautiful. Like, you know, it's a little memory, like it's a, I don't know, omen from the past, right? So that's beautiful. And then 6 of Swords here, we have the boots, and the spider is going to ride with those boots. And I feel like whoever put those boots on is going to take the spider in this direction, which is where the light is coming from. And we also see the water, which is brilliant because we see the water in 6 of Swords, which is to do with our emotional state as well, isn't it? So love that. And I love how when they're on the boots, they're going to get there quite quickly. So it's going to be a smooth ride, faster than if they were walking by themselves, right? So that's brilliant. And like I said before, with 6 of Pentacles, we see this in a church. So this is where they collect donations in the church. And why I find this card so brilliant is because it can be read in both ways so well, in a positive and in the negative way. Because if you know what's happening with churches generally and where those donations sometimes don't go to, I'm going to say, this is just brilliant. It's just brilliant on a such high level. I'm so passionate about this card. It's amazing. I think this is probably the best portrayal of 6 of Pentacles I've ever seen. And 6 of Pentacles is a card that's really close to my heart because it is my Deacon card. Another card that is connected to my zodiac is, because I'm a Taurus, is the Hierophant card, which I also love in this deck, but also it connects to this card because it's, you know, churches and all that. So yeah, maybe that's why I'm like so bonded with this deck. I know this is going to be a very long review, but I really don't mind because I'm loving it. So 7 of Wands, let's go. 7 of Wands, we see the zoom in on this spider, right? On our little spider. And I love how this speaks about, I think this is the closest we see the spider in any of the cards, apart from maybe the Fool. Because it's so zoomed onto the spider, it feels like they're really put on the spot, if that makes sense, and they're standing their ground. And the wands are the shadows of the wands. It feels like they're coming their way. What are these shadows casted by? Like, we don't know, but we know that the spider is standing the ground. They are in the spotlight. They are not stepping down, you know. So yeah, I love this. 7 of Cups, how brilliant in the candy shop. This is just, it's incredible. I don't think I have to actually comment on this because if you've ever, or maybe I will. So when you're an adult, right, you have money and you go into the candy shop and it's the 7 of Cups feeling because there's so many things that you can get and you can get anything, but you know you shouldn't get everything. And it's kind of like, yeah, it's just the perfect 7 of Cups feel, because when you're a child and you don't have the money, right, you can just dream about those candies. But if you're an adult and you can actually get them, that adds an extra layer to this card. And it's just perfect. It's amazing. 7 of Cups is another card I look at, by the way, because I am a Scorpio rising. Seven of Swords, how brilliant. We see the spider in a jewelry shop, and it looks like, we don't know, they are taking some jewels there. And they created this protective web above them. So that talks about strategy and playing smart, right? So it's just so good. This deck is amazing. Like, it's so great. Seven of Pentacles, another card that is so brilliant, so great. Because we can see here, we see the scale, right? When you're measuring things. With Seven of Pentacles, it's not just about patience, which we also get. Because if you make bread, let's say we're making bread, you need to know exactly the amount of things you need to put in bread, which is about Seven of Pentacles, right? Is measuring things, it's adjusting things. And then also about patience, right? Because if you wait too little, the bread is not going to be done yet. And if you wait too long, it's going to be too hard. And also, before you put the bread in the oven, you need to wait for it to rise. So you need to be patient with that as well. You can't rush that process. So it's just so great. I mean, this deck, big time surprised me in an incredible way. I did not expect it to be this deep. I don't know what I thought. I thought it was going to be more cute and sweet, but it's just deep and meaningful and triggers emotions, right? It's very evocative even. Okay, these eights are amazing as well. So Eight of Swords first, I'm going to look at this one because it's brilliant. Like, the glass is over the spider. So someone caught him, right? Or caught them. So it talks about those circumstances around you. But then also you can see through the glass, and there's like an opening here. So if they turned and went this way, it's easy to escape. So it's just so good. Like, the Eight of Pentacles with building the wall is amazing because of Eight of Pentacles is about strategy, patience, perseverance, brick by brick, right? And also, if you've ever been around people who build things, which I have, when I was a kid, my father was building a garage, right? So I saw him mixing this glue for the bricks, right? Or for stone here. And again, you need to be very precise of how much water you put in, how much powder you put in, so it's not too thick or too thin, so it holds the bricks or stones here together. So yeah, it's many layers to this card as well. Eight of Cups, this spider is leaving behind the flowers that are dying and moving towards the blooming ones. And it's beautiful because these flowers are not going to bloom again right now, right? They're done. So whatever is done, you're leaving behind and walking towards the sunshine. And the Eight of Wands, really similar to, reminds me of the hardwood, where we see water going through the room and we see the wands there, which here we also see. And the Eight of Wands to me talks about that flow. It's very interesting that Stephanie decided to use water in Eight of Wands. I find it very interesting, but it's also very potent because what else shows flow better than the flow of water and stepping into that flow, right? So that's beautiful. Nine of Wands in the doctor's office is brilliant because we know how overworked the doctors are, especially I feel now in the UK specifically, because there's not enough doctors. They're very tired and overworked and, just tired, yeah. And it's just brilliant for that. Nine of Cups, sitting there in the warm sunshine with the music playing. I mean, what else do you need, right? I love that because Nine of Cups is about pleasure, it's enjoyment, right? It's enjoying what you've earned. And the spider definitely been through a lot of things already, and now they they earned a little moment for themselves to just enjoy the moment, really. Nine of Swords and this butterfly wings being collected is perfect because it's obviously terrifying for a little spider to see that someone is collecting, other insects' body parts. But another layer to this card is we see butterfly wings. And Nine of Swords is about transformation of thought. It's about you having lots of thoughts and thinking that are spun into a negative cycle, right? A snowballing kind of thing. But it also talks about the power of thought. And if you take a hold on your thoughts, you can transform your thoughts for greater good, right? In a better way, right? Instead of thinking what could go wrong, you can find a solution, what you can do in a situation you're in, and transformation of thought, right? Which butterflies are perfect for, right? And then the Nine of Pentacles here. We are in a cheese shop, a cheesery, I'm not sure what it's called. And cheese is something that is quite a leisure food, right? It's fancy. It's still expensive in this time, and I can imagine in the past it was even more expensive. But for me, for some reason, this deck feels like it's not from this time, especially when I look at the radio. It feels like maybe it's happening in the 70s, maybe even before, 40s, 50s, I don't know, before. And so Nine of Pentacles is about enjoying the pleasures that you deserve, that you work really hard for, and now you can enjoy them. And come on, we see a snail. How brilliant is this? We see a snail on this cheese here. Do you see the nuggets are everywhere? I love it so much. So yes, cheese is fancy and expensive, and you can enjoy it now because you made it, right? 10 of Wands as really ripe tomatoes is amazing. We see the spider carrying the 10 Wands here, which is another really great little... I love that they used a little bit of the Rider-Waite-Smith, right? I feel like this is the only card that has very Rider-Waite-Smith imagery here. But these fruits need to be taken off because they're burdensome now. It's with the 10 of Wands, you can imagine, for me, it's like someone who has worked really hard on their passion and follow their passion, but it's like a huge business that you're taking on by yourself, but it's a bit too much. So you need to find people to work for you now. And so you need to delegate the responsibilities, right? And here the fruits, they're beautiful, they're ripe, they're ready, it's blossoming, right? But the fruits need to be taken off now because they're getting too heavy for the plant. So that's just brilliant. Now, I was saying the 10 of Cups, remember the Lover's card, right? I'm going to show you. Do you see the connection? So we see the dandelion seeds flying away now. The 10 of Cups is brilliant because the 10 is the last number, right? So it's the end and the beginning. And the swing talks about that enjoyment, that sense of freedom. If you've ever been on a swing, you know that it feels very free when you're on the swing. So that's beautiful. We see hearts here, which is, emotional fulfillment, love, right? But these seedlings are now free and they're flying wherever the wind is taking them, right? And we see lots of light in this card. Lightness. I feel like there's space to breathe, to just be, to be free. Freedom comes to me when I look at this card, and it's just beautiful. And the seeds are setting off and the new journey begins, right? So that's beautiful. And of course, connection to the Lovers, love, right? Emotional fulfillment, emotional freedom. Be free to be yourself. 10 of Swords, we see the window, which I love. We see the dark clouds at the background, like we see in the Rider-Waite-Smith. And then we also see a sun setting or sun rising here. I think probably rising. And their little spider web has been broken, and the plants here are also dying. So that's a beautiful hint to the endings, things that are ending, but the new things are beginning. And the 10 of Pentacles, we see the vault here. And I'm going to read you from the guidebook for the 10 of Pentacles because it's written in such a great way. Deep in the vaults of the village bank, our fool sits calmly inside on an open safety deposit box. Beside them rests a modest stack of coins, each one carefully counted and accounted for. They work with unhurried precision, as though there's no pressure to rush or to accumulate more than what is already there. The 10 of Pentacles is often associated with wealth and material abundance, but this card invites you to examine what true security really means. Here, there's no vast fortune, only what's genuinely needed and no more. Real stability doesn't always come from abundance. It can come from the simplicity of sufficiency, from knowing that what you have is enough. This card gently reminds you that the genuine contentment isn't measured by excess, but by feeling safe, settled, and supported within the life you've built. How amazing! Love it. All right, and here we are with our pages. Like I said to you before, remember in Ace of Wands, we had painting. And here we have drawing in the Page of Wands, which is brilliant in my opinion. In the Page of Wands, we need more precision, right, when we're drawing than, well, in the painting as well, but it's a different level of creativity. And it kind of reminds me of Adam's journey from the decks that are in color to now the deck that it's not, that is drawn right. So that's so brilliant, okay? The Page of Cups, we see this package in the Three of Wands, which is now brilliant because in the Page of Cups, we see this package now arriving. Page of Cups is about finding something somewhere, something new. So like a fish is flying out of the cup or looking out of the cup, right? And here we have a package in front of the door, and it's like something new, something exciting, something that it's that triggers our emotions, that allows us to explore our emotions. It's something new as well, right? Starting something new. I'm learning about something new. Who knows what is inside of this package? So that is really lovely. And this plant at the background, I'm sure it has a meaning. I have a feeling that it has a meaning. And here with the Page of Swords, we are in the library, and the spider is now observing different cards and what people are reading. And it's learning, right? It's learning about perhaps the system in the library. We see the sword here. It's exploring new intellectual properties, I'm going to say. And then in the Page of Pentacles, I love how the spider is looking through the glasses and examining the coin and thinking what they're going to do with the coin. And I really wish I could read what it says here. Maybe Stephanie, if you're watching this, you can tell me in the comments below, what does it say on this book here? Or, yeah, it's a book. But that wide opened eye to me talks about seeing things clearly, or opening your eyes to new things, to new possibilities, to seeing things from a new perspectives, which is really cool for the Page of Pentacles. And here we are at our Knights. I love that we have the train here for the Knight of Wands, because the trains, this type of train uses, first of all, fire to work. Secondly, this is not a real train, right? So this is a toy, and we see glue here. So this is a train that someone, probably a child or not, is building, is creating, right? They are creating something, and the Knights are about that action, which is great. We also see the painting here again, which is creativity. We see the helmet on the train. This card is just very brilliantly done for the Knight of Wands, because, like I said, fire, creativity, movement, right? Knight of Cups. This Knight of Cups is amazing, and this is the same plant that we saw in the Page of Cups, which is so interesting. I just realized. Look, it's the same plant. I forgot what it's called. I know the plant, but I don't know what it's called. Anyhow, I love how this plant has been overwatered, because the water is coming from the bottom, right? And if you know anything about the Knight of Cups, they are often overwhelmingly, or they can be overwhelmingly emotional. They give you everything. There are people who are going to write you songs and poems, and that can be a little bit too much, right? They can be a little bit too much. So that's a little bit too much. Also, I love how the spider is reflecting in the water, which reminds me, first of all, on the Two of Cups, right? Emotional connection. It also reminds me of the fact that the Knight of Cups is someone who is not afraid to look at their emotions, to reflect on how are they feeling. So that's brilliant. It's so lovely. The Knight of Swords with his stoic, hardcore sword stabbed into the floor is just perfect. But it also, the back shows that this sword has been worked on, right? So there's motion in this picture, because it's the creation of the swords is a complex thing that includes many facets of creation of this. Is that expression? I think it is. But there are many different layers of, oh my gosh, the sword goes through many different procedures before it's created, I'm going to say. So it's a long process, but it's also a process that needs a lot of force and needs a lot of precision. It needs fire, right? Which I connect Knights to fire, which is amazing, right? But yeah, the force, the precision, the cutting, the cut dry. I love that we have lots of black space here, which can talk a little bit more about perhaps the negative side of the Knight of Swords. So yeah, lovely. And we see the Iron Knight, it says here. The Iron Knight. The Knight of Swords does wear a lot of armor in the Rider-Waite-Smith as well, which is very interesting. And then the Knight of Pentacles, I love how we see this 10p here, and the helmet costs exactly 10p. We see helmet in these 3 cards, but we don't see it in this one, which is very interesting, right? It's very interesting. So it doesn't have, the mind is not protected, I feel, in the Knight of Swords, because the helmet is on the head, which is very interesting. Anyhow, where were we? So yes, this spider has exactly 10p that they're going to spend on the helmet. And the Knight of Pentacles is someone who is very precise. They're not going to spend too much. They're going to do exactly the right thing, right? They're not going to fail because they're taking precautions. They're taking step-by-step approach, which is amazing. So we see dice there, which tells me that the Knight of Pentacles is not taking any chances. The Queen of Wands is again painting, right? But painting on a bigger scale. So we see a place where they mix the colors and stuff, and then they paint the walls. And the queen is represented by sunflower yellow, and we see a crown there. And that is just brilliant because the sunflower yellow is a color that I would connect to the Queen of Wands and creativity. And we see that there are many facets to the Queen and many different layers of creativity because we see different type of tools there. So she's creative, right? In her approaches, in her expression. The Queen of Cups has this, is it called carousel? I'm not sure. But it's perfect because Queen of Cups is often connected to that nurturing mother because she's water of water, right? And this is above the crib, and it's just so beautiful with the stars as well. It's just, yeah, it's a very Queen of Cups-y feel to it. And we see the crown there, and the window is open, so kind of feel fresh air, nurturing comes through because oxygen, right? Nurturing. I don't know why, but that to me is important. And then the Queen of Swords being written so neatly on the blackboard, to me is brilliant because the Queen of Swords is someone who is very articulate, someone who is very clean in the way they speak, the way they give the message out. But I find it very interesting that we see a little crown here, that we have a sponge here that can quite easily delete or rub off what the Queen has written, right? So I feel like she's someone who can tell you certain things, but then she can take them back in a way where you wouldn't even know that she said them in the first place, if that makes sense. And then the Queen of Pentacles with this, to calculate is like an old school calculator, I suppose. It says something, maybe Dawn Analytics? Maybe Dawn. Anyhow, the Queen of Pentacles, I see her as someone who is very calculated, who is going to show you, who is going to nurture you through practicality, right? Through practical things. So she's going to help you calculate your, expenses, right? And see the crown on the coin. Brilliant. I really wish I could read what it says here. But yeah, I love that she's someone who is practical, who is down to earth, who is helping you practically. She's going to cook your meal, she's going to show you how to do things so next time you can do it yourself. She's not the type of queen who is going to give you hugs and stuff. She's practical, right? So I love that. I love that portrayal of her. Or them, right? Because these cards are genderless. Again, that is another thing about this deck that is amazing. There's no gender, so you can see whoever you want to in the cards, right? The King of Wands is the card that made me go, I'm obsessed with this deck now because kings are related, in my opinion, to air, to thinking, right? And if you know music, the music is very similar to maths. And so there's lots of logic and thinking and structures and, maths in it. And music is creative, right? Is creativity, is flow. And music, a conductor is a perfect way to portray King of Wands, in my opinion. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. King of Cups, I'm going to read you this because King of Cups is written in such a great way as well. The King of Cups leads through compassion and wisdom. Their strength isn't loud or showy. It's found in thoughtful decisions made each day and in the gentle care extended to others. That this card reminds us that it's rarely grand gestures that truly shape the world, but rather the small, steady acts of kindness that ripple outward and create lasting differences. How amazing is that? And then for the King of Swords, we have the agreement, right? The King of Swords is related to logic, to calculated thinking, to strategy, right? And writing the agreements down in ink is perfect. Love that. And then the King of Pentacles, the little spider is on this, I forgot what it's called, but it's like a thing that holds a golf ball, right? So I personally connect golf to a very leisure, fancy hobby / sport. So people who have made it in life, who have riches, right, who can afford it, are playing golf. Therefore, perfect for the King of Pentacles, because if you think about the King of Pentacles, he's someone who sits on that throne and is enjoying their leisure, what they created, right? They are enjoying the riches that they have because they worked hard for them. And also, I feel like King of Pentacles is not someone who is they're enjoying them, but they don't feel like they're someone loud. And I feel golf is a very quiet type of game, if that makes sense. And you can do it by yourself, right? You don't have to compete with others. You can, but you can also do it by yourself. And the King of Pentacles to me personally feels very introverted, and this is perfect, right? So yes, we came to the end. Oh my goodness. This has been a very long review, I know, but it's such a brilliant deck. Now let me show you how it shuffles. I know that this is a prototype deck and it's going to shuffle a little bit differently, but it still shuffles amazingly. So look at that. Older decks shuffle like a dream. They have like this 400 GSM, thick, lovely cardstock that is flexible, but also sturdy enough, and overhand as well, beautifully. Oh my gosh, look at that, the Sun card. That is exactly how I feel about this deck, like this card. Warm, fuzzy inside, positive. Like, you know, that warm early summer day when the sun is not too hot yet, just perfectly hot. So yes, this was the Winding Tarot. I don't even know if I said the name, oh my gosh, at the beginning. The Winding Tarot. It is coming out, I believe, in April, but the pre-orders are in from tomorrow. I'm not sure when I'm going to publish this video, hopefully soon, but from the 2nd, today is 1st of March when I'm recording this, so from the 2nd of March to the end of March, you have pre-orders, and the deck is going to cost £40.5, and later on is going to be, I think, £47.75, so around £48. So it's quite a big of a difference. So if you pre-order it, you're going to get it at a better price. I'm going to put a link to their website in the description box below. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this walkthrough, exploration of this beautiful new deck by 3 Trees Tarot, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye.